I suppose I'm going to turn this
Oh, it's fine. I saw it.
It's easy.
That's not bad looking.
Did I detect sarcasm?
All right. Let's talk about UVs. Everyone's favorite topic, right? Everyone loves UVs?
Okay.
I love sun
It's okay.
rays.
Nice, nice. All right, so before we can really talk about UVs, let's start talking about what is a map, right? Because UVs allow us to use maps on our geometry.
How did you make this? What did you use?
The map is just going to be
Plane. Use
a
plane
2D
quite a bit.
representation,
Mm.
something three-dimensional, right? Most
Show
people
you
are familiar with the map of the world, right? The Earth is a spheroid.
World.
Map kind of takes that, unfolds it kind of flat, projects it down into 2D space so you can put it in your pocket, carry it on your phone, all that kind of fun stuff.
Of course.
Fun stuff.
All right, map kind of gets a bunch of information baked into it, right? So a map that we're used to, geography type stuff, you know, we get direction, we get distance, sometimes we can get topography, right? Various heights and depths, all that kind of fun stuff. And let's actually burn through some of that. And we're going to be using UVs, kind of apply maps to our mesh. So when it comes to our geometry, right, everyone hopefully at this point is familiar with edges and verts and faces, but every place that there's a vertex, there's a UV piggybacking on your mesh. So here you can see we've got the verts on the left. Green ones we saw in the cleanup are UVs. And UVs allow us to translate our 3D space into 2D space, right? So there's a little bit of UV in 3DF, a little bit more fancy in MCR, but basic premise is the same, right? All that UV is telling Maya is, it looks at the mesh and goes, okay, where's the UV on the mesh right there? Where's that in our UV space, right? That 0 to 1 space. And it literally just looks up, well, what color is it there? Oh, it's gray, it's blue, whatever color your image is, and then it makes your mesh that color. You load in a texture, right? You guys did ambient occlusion bakes in 3DF, right? You load that into the diffuse, goes into that 0 to 1. It's kind of why we keep our stuff in that 0 to 1 space. When you load in an image, where it gets stuck. And then it just literally, it's a lookup table, right? It's going, what color is this? That's blue, that's red, that's whatever. And then boom. Now your mesh looks a little bit fancier, a little bit cooler, hopefully. All right, so there's lots of different theories when it comes to UVs. The one that we're sticking with in MCR is going to be collage UVs. Basically the same concept that was worked, I think, in 3DF. But here are going to be the premises of collage UVs. Right? So we have all of our UVs for each object live in a single 0 to 1 space. So if you're doing the table, then you have the tabletop, the table legs, all the parts and pieces of that table, all of their UVs live in a single 0 to 1 space. No overlapping. Hopefully minimize stretching, minimize seams. But you do have to keep in mind, seams and stretching are kind of two sides of a coin. So if you have a really complex shape, you can either get a little bit more stretching for fewer seams or vice versa. But either way, you want to try to keep those fairly balanced. And then similar textile density. Can you tell me what textile density means? What it is I'm talking about when I talk about similar textile density? So any guesses? You remember the checker pattern in 3DF? So textile density is really just a fancy way of saying the size of the checkers should be about the same on all the different parts.
Okay.
Right? It just means that they get relatively equal texture space, the amount of space in that 0 to 1, based on how big they are in relation to each other. So the checker pattern just needs to be about the same size across everything. That's really just how that kind of comes down. All right, bad UVs. Have you seen bad UVs? Yeah. Pretty normal. As you're modeling, honestly, the UVs kind of go to rubbish. Then you have to rebuild them at the end. But if you have bad UVs and you have a texture, the texture looks weird. Right? In this case, you can see the Superman logo all stretched and warped. The texture at the bottom gets all weird. Honestly, if your UVs get really bad, it can get way worse. Things can be just really all sorts of garbled. Text can be backwards or not legible at all. It can just get really kind of chaotic. As far as UV mapping tools, some of these I'm sure you've gone over, right? Planar map, cylindrical map, that kind of stuff, right? For you. That's basically where we're going to live. There's a lot of fancier stuff, and we'll be using some of the fancier tools to make our lives a little bit easier. But for the most part, base tool sets are going to be the same, right? Planar map, cylindrical map. I'm going to show you spherical and why I don't like it, and how to do that instead in a way that's a little bit better. All right.
Well,
So who can tell me, like, why do we care about UVs? Why do we want to learn UVs? Obviously they're a little bit more abstract, a little bit more complex, right? What do we got?
That's the only way to make our models look actually realistic.
It's going to be the way that we can actually kind of cheat the camera a little bit and make your mesh hopefully look a bit more real, right? If you want to apply a logo to something, you don't want to go in and like model the logo and be like, this face is red, this face is green. Like that's going to take forever and it's going to make your life miserable. So instead, we can take UVs to kind of cheat the process a little bit, make things look better, faster, actually build some efficiencies into things. Let's go into shaded mode here. I'm going to turn on wireframe on shaded. How many of you could model this shape? Yeah, I would hope pretty much everyone. Right? There's really nothing fancy going on here. It's a cube, some extrusions, maybe some cuts to get the corners kind of meshed up. But once we get everything on, actually move the light around, you're going to see we're going to get transitions in the highlights and shadows. Does that look pretty solid? Yeah, pretty decent. Right, so the magic here is really all in the UVs. Go ahead and pull up our UV editor. Apparently it broke on me a little bit. Just see what those UVs look like. All right, so you can see here we got the texture loaded in. It's in that 0 to 1 space. Right? Whenever you load in a texture, it's where it's going to live, that 0 to 1 space. That's why we put our UVs in the 0 to 1 space. There are some theories and some workflows that work with some of the other spaces. It's a little bit more advanced, and right now it's a bit more in the high-end film or high-end game market. We're going to kind of keep it a little bit more basic. Just live in that 0 to 1 where we're going to live and breathe. All right. So if I want to see if these UVs are any good, do you remember how to do that? Are there any things I need to turn on or check out to verify whether these UVs are decent? Yeah. Cool. How do you do that? Awesome. Can you tell me how to turn on UV shading? Remember? So it's not going to be modified. Actually, before we get too far into that, how many of your UV editors look like this? Is everybody in 2018? Most everyone in 2018? Yeah. All right. If you're in 2018, you should look like this. If you're in 2017 pre-update 3, it's going to look different. Things get a little weird. What's that? Yeah. So here's actually an interesting hotkey I learned the other day. You don't have to remember where UV shading is. What's the hotkey to turn on shaded mode in the viewport? 6 is textured, 4 is wireframe, 5. Bam! UV shading is just 5.
UV shading is 5.
You can find it here at the top. It's that icon, or I want to say it's under view, right there, shaded. But all the having to remember what menu it's under is kind of out the window. 4 is UV shading off, 5 is it on. Just like the viewport, finally they actually made it consistent, which is fantastic. All right, so blue the right way? Yeah, right. Everything looks pretty solid there. Does everybody know why we care if it goes the right way or not? Yeah, if it's going the wrong way, whatever you paint, it's going to be backwards. So I'm just going to take this shell here, and we'll just cut some of this off real quick. Actually, let's do this one. So here you can see the character's arm on the left side of the screen is sticking up. If we take this UV shell and flip it, boom, it flips it. So if you're making something, let's say you're making a Colgate bottle and you have that Colgate logo, you put it on, all of a sudden it's backwards. They're probably not going to be very happy with you if you're trying to sell a product with something backwards, right?
Could you use that, like if you needed the same image flipped on the other side of an object?
So for MCR, avoid that. In production, you definitely can. You can game your UVs, but you've got to be mindful of certain things when it comes to like baking AO or baking neural maps or really any baking process. Backwards UVs are going to cause a problem because it's going to flip the vector. But what you can do is you can bake your AO with regular UVs and then go in, flip it, change them around to game the system a little bit.
So yes, but don't.
Okay, yeah, I
Yeah,
understand
yeah,
that.
you definitely can. And in production, there's going to be a lot of interesting tricks like that that you can use to get around things. But yeah, for MCR, I would avoid it. Just for it. Let's just see back on this. All right, what else we got to check out to figure out these are good UVs?
So,
You kind of mentioned it with that textile density conversation.
I think this
Awesome, checker pattern. Does anybody know how to do the checker pattern? How do I turn it on?
one's very simple.
What's that?
You see the back.
There's a lot of, what? Well, yeah, we could make a Lambert, and I know that's the way they really like to do it in 3DF. I'm going to show you another way. I actually don't like, there's not a point in making a Lambert anymore. In our UV editor, as long as your window is big enough, and this little icon that looks like a checker,
This one's pretty easy too.
just turn it on.
Wait, what? Turn on what?
The little checker icon.
What checker icon
Right?
is
Turn on the little checker icon, boom, we got checker pattern. When I'm tired of it, I just shut it off. Right? I don't have to go and make a material and have extra Lamberts cluttering up my scene anymore. And you may notice that by default, the checker kind of pops into your 0 to 1. If you hit the little moon and mountain picture, it shuts that off. So now you don't have to deal with that kind of competing visually. Right? So I don't have to deal with I can't see my UVs because the checker pattern's too busy. Shut that off. Now you can see. Right? Checker looks kind of checkery, pretty boxy. What's up?
You still looking?
So that lettering
Oh,
has
no,
to do
already,
with
yeah,
a
just have a little checker
fancier
box.
UV layout method called UDIM, which basically starts using different like 0 to 1 spaces next to each other, and then there's a way to address those using those letters. So the 0 to 1 is actually U1 V1. The one just to the right is going to be, I want to say it's U1 V2 or something, you know. And it works its way out, so you can actually address different boxes. But that's fancier stuff.
Pots and pans.
Right, looks like checkers. That look good? Okay. Alright, let's just shut off the checker, let's shut off this. Come over here, go back into texture view, and I'm just going to shut off UV shading for now. Kind of show you why we want those checkers to be squares. Right, once again, go to the logo option. If I come in here and just grab some UVs, start to slide these around, you're going to see that the image starts to get distorted on the mesh. Right? Same thing with the squares. The squares are distorted, your image is distorted. So that's why we want things to be nice and square. If you're just hand painting, you can kind of paint to work with some of the distortion, but if you're doing things like taking a logo for your client and putting it on your thing, it's gonna be a little bit more problematic. You gotta take their logo and like warp it in Photoshop to make it match the warping on the mesh. So this is why we kind of care about that. Make sense? Awesome. All right, let's dive into lecture activity 12. If you haven't downloaded yet, if you downloaded this before yesterday, go ahead and re-download it. I did change it last night, so we're going to do something new and exciting today. But if you downloaded it today, you should be good to go for that. All right, so just go ahead and set up a project. And open the scene. As long as you're in 2018, you can open either of the files included in the update. If you're in 2017, you have to open the MA. Just going to keep that in mind. You can see we've got a lot of different meshes in the scene that we're working at. But it's going to have some fun with it. I'm going to hide the room, the oil drum. Actually, the only things I'm going to leave showing are going to be these three objects, right? The cereal box.